prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. Are you coming in? Oh, okay. And we head towards the east, towards our temple in Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Olive, Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for just the simple things in life, Yahweh, just the mercy of life, Yahweh, just for the opportunity for another day to walk towards repentance and an opportunity to learn more of your righteousness, Yahweh, and move closer to being reborn, Yahweh, and leaving that old person behind and moving towards the servant that you wish for your children to be, Yahweh. We're thankful for that kind mercy, Yahweh. Yahweh, we ask that you please forgive us of our sins and trespasses, Yahweh, and please give us eyes to see and ears to hear, so that we may willfully show you our obedience, Yahweh, by repenting and changing and moving in the direction that gives you glory and produces fruit for you, Yahweh, and not ourselves, Yahweh. Yahweh, we ask that all our sick and our injured, Yahweh, that you be merciful unto them, Yahweh, and according to your will provide some relief, but not only the relief, but also the understanding, Yahweh, and how they can help move towards their own salvation and deal with the tribulation and anguish that is in their lives, Yahweh, but with understanding, Yahweh, so that they can gain and grow from it, Yah. Yeah, all these things, Yah, we make no demands, but we humbly come before you and we ask and pray not only for us, but for all your children across the four corners of the earth, Yahweh, that willfully choose to show you the sign of obedience by keeping your commandments, Yah. Yeah, all these things we humbly come before you and thank and pray through Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. Amen. All right. Shalom. My name is Yedan Yasharal. My brother Yonatan Yasharal. Shalom. And the title of today's Bible study is The Unleavening of the House. The Unleavening of the House. And today we're going to discuss a little bit. Shalom, sister. Today we're going to discuss a little bit the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the rites and the acts that we need to do during this time, the laws pertaining to it, and we're also going to get a little bit of the understanding of why we're doing and what's the spiritual significance of what we're doing. But ultimately, it's to all get to the point of understanding that our temple is the house of Elohim. This is where we house his spirit. We were adopted as sons and we received his spirit. And in that house, before we can present ourselves to him, we have to remove the leaven out of the house. So we have to remove the sin from us when we're approaching unto the Most High to the best of our abilities. So that is what the unleavened bread is trying to get us to get that understanding. Start out the year fresh with that understanding of trying to remove the leaven from the temple of Yah. So we're going to open up first in Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23. And we're just going to read verses 1 through 8. Wayakra, or Leviticus, chapter 23, and we're going to read verses 1 through 8. And shalom, brother Linnell Mangwin. Shalom, brother Robert McCall. Shalom, brother Darius. Good to see you. Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23, and we're going to read verses 1 through 8. We're going to get straight into the law pertaining to the Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover.
Leviticus 23 and verse 1. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
All right. So immediately he says, these are my feasts. So these are the feasts of Yahweh. You know, I can have a feast on my birthday and say, hey, listen, you know, my friends and family, come through, let's eat. You know, we're going to celebrate Yah's mercy and letting me have another rotation around the sun. All right, we can do that. But that's not lawful for me to command anybody to do that. That would be turning myself into a god. Now, these feasts, these are Yah's commanded feasts, the feast days that he commanded and said these belong to him. So we cannot add to those feasts, or we cannot remove from those feasts. That doesn't mean having another feast in honor of Yah or regarding the children of Yasharal is a transgression. It's just not Yah's feast days. So we want to make sure that we understand that. And before Yah even gets to his feast days, he immediately starts talking about the Shabbat. 6 days you work, the seventh day you rest. This is how important the Sabbath day is. He's saying if you can't follow the 7-day cycle, you can't keep the feast days. It's no point even going there, because you can't keep the Sabbath day, which is his day. And a feast day is like a Sabbathon or a Sabbath on certain of the feasts. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 4. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right. So immediately it goes into the 14th day. At even is Yahweh's Passover. And obviously when we went over Passover, we saw at meant in between evenings. But on the 14th day is Pesach, Passover. Then on the 15th day is unleavened bread, the feast of unleavened bread, with 7 days that you must eat unleavened bread. So we know that's a commandment there. 7 days we have to eat unleavened bread. That's not an option. For 7 days straight, you must eat bread without leaven. And then it also says the first day of the feast is a holy convocation. A Kodesh Mikra means it is treated like a Sabbathon. You shall do no work in that day. So it is like a Sabbath, but it's not a Sabbath, because the Sabbath is sanctified. It's completely separate from all other days of the year, all other days of the week. But it's a Sabbathon, which means it's a special festival day in which you cannot work. And then you're supposed to have a holy convocation on the first day and the 7th day. So Leviticus 23 gives you the date. It gives you the name of the feast, which is unleavened bread. The Hebrew word for unleavened bread is matzah. Matzah, which is H4682. H4682. And that's matzah spelled MATSAH. And that's from H4711, in a sense of greedily devouring for sweetness. Properly sweetness, concretely sweet, that is not soured or bittered with yeast. Specifically an unfermented cake or loaf. The festival of Pesach. And unleavened means without leaven. All right, so unleavened bread is without any leavening agent. The leavening agent causes it to rise, to puff up, but it also causes it to be bitter. When you add leaven to bread or leaven to something, it causes it to get a bitter taste. So the leaven represents sin. So the sin comes inside of you and it causes bitterness. So when it talks about, I don't want to allow a root of bitterness to grow in me, I don't want to allow a sin to fester in me to develop into bitterness. So I have to unleaven myself, remove that sin, and unleaven myself. And then also leavening, it can either be a natural or it can also be a chemical. And we're going to go over some of those things as well. So we're going to move on. So it didn't give you all the information pertaining to unleavened bread. It just said You should eat unleavened bread for 7 days straight, with a 7-day feast, with the first day Sabbathon and the 7th day Sabbathon. So now we're going to go to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 16, and we're going to read 1 through 17, and we're going to look at some other important information of what we're supposed to do during unleavened bread. Deuteronomy chapter 16, we're going to read verses 1 through 17. Shalom, Brother Jawan.
Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 16, and verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of Mitzrayim by night. You shall therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yahweh your Elohim of the flock and the herd, in the place which Yahweh shall choose to place his name there. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, that you may remember the day when you came forth out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life.
All right, so we ate it in haste. So that means if you follow the instructions of unleavened bread, on the 14th day, in between evenings, which means right after sunset, you're supposed to kill that Passover lamb. If your days would start in the daytime, if your calendar day started in the daytime and you had to wait till the nighttime of the 14th, then that would mean as soon as morning came, it would be the 15th. And that means that would give you a whole day to cook and do all this type of stuff. That's not haste. You got a whole day. You got all of the 14th. Then you got all of the 15th of the day of the 15th, all the way to the nighttime of the 15th. And then say it's got to be done before the morning of the 16th. That's not haste, especially if you roasting something. So even when you look at the instructions of how to keep Passover and the fact that they're telling you this has to be done, that's showing you the order of how the days had to be, or else it wouldn't be haste. You'd be taking your time. The meat, you'd have to be worried about trying to keep the meat, you know what I'm saying, not spoiling from all that time. So even in the laws, they're giving you clues of how Yahweh's reconciling days.
Verse 4. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with you in all your coast 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh which you sacrifice the first day at even remain all night until the morning. You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. But at the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Mitzrayim.
All right, so again, it's letting you know at the going down of the sun. And again, that word for at even is bain, which means between evenings, at the going down of the sun. So it's letting you know in between those evenings, the going down of the sun, that's when you're supposed to sacrifice that Passover. And then it looks, when you eat the Passover, we understand that's on the 15th when you actually make the offering and eat. And then it also says, not only must you eat unleavened bread for 7 days, it also says you must remove all leaven from your house for 7 days. So in verse 4, there shall be no leavened bread seen with you in all your coasts 7 days. So again, we are to remove the leaven out of our house, and we are to make sure we eat leavened bread for 7 days. Now, this is in your dwellings and all your dwellings. So wherever you dwell, which means your house, your car, anything that is your domicile, that you own, that you're control of. Now you have some individuals that, may not have a house to themselves, or live with the parents, or live with somebody else. You can't go in somebody else's house and enforce these laws, because at the end of the day, it tells you within your gates, your control, within your country. Yahweh never said go out to Egypt and tell these people they got to keep the law. He never said that. He's talking to his people and those that want to serve him. So within your control, if you live with somebody else, then whatever you control, your room, you make sure you clean your room, you vacuum, you get under, you don't leave any leaven or any crumbs. You make sure any of your food that has any kind of leaven or leavening agents in it, that you give it away prior to the unleavened bread. Because giving your leavened stuff to another individual, especially an Israelite or anybody else, is saying, here, break the commandment. Don't keep the commandments. That's just like the same concept of, well, I ain't going to work, but I'm going to go to the store and buy something and cause this guy to work the cash register to take the money to sell me the things that I want. You can't do that. So you want to make sure if you live with somebody else, or even if you live with yourself, before, while we still have time, we got a little a week and a half or so, you got time to go and get rid of stuff. Start eating it, giving it away so somebody can actually eat for the starving people. It's nothing wrong with leavened bread. It's just during this week, it's the exercise of learning to get rid of the leaven.
Verse 7. Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 16 and verse 7. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. And you shall turn in the morning and go unto your tents. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Yahweh your Elohim. You shall do no work therein. 7 weeks shall you number unto you.
Keep going.
To begin to number the 7 weeks from such as time you begin to put the sickle to the corn. And you shall keep the feast of weeks unto Yahweh your Elohim, with a tribute of a freewill offering of your hand, which you shall give unto Yahweh your Elohim, according as Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you.
All right. So here, notice they went into Passover and unleavened bread. Then all of a sudden, they're now going into a new feast, which is 7 weeks from the time that you begin to put the sickle to the corn. So when you look at the other laws pertaining to that, you understand what they're talking about. They're talking about 7 weeks from Feast of First Fruits. Mm-hmm. But they're talking about now here a free will offering that you need to make. A free will offering. And this offering is according to how Yah has blessed you. So how it's going to be different for every individual. Some individual might feel that I've been blessed, so I need to give this much because I received a great increase this year. Another individual might say, listen, I actually lost a lot this year and I don't really have a lot, so I can only afford to offer this and still feed my family. So it's a free will offering. Now, why I'm extenuating that and trying to focus on that is because now when you look at the Feast of First Fruits, which is also in Leviticus 23, which we'll go over as well another day. It's a sheaf offering, a wave offering, a sheaf offering. So it's telling you a certain amount that you have to offer. And that is different than a free will offering. And why that's important is because people confuse first fruits, the Feast of First Fruits, with the free will offering that is being made on unleavened bread, which we're going to read lower down here why you're going to be making that offering. But this other free will offering is the second one is being done in Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost or Shabbat or Shabuah. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 11. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow that are among you, in the place which Yahweh your Elohim has chosen to place his name there. And you shall remember that you are a bondman in Mitzrayim, and you shall observe to do these statutes. You shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that you have gathered in your corn and your wine. And you shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow that are within your gates.
That are within your gates. Go ahead.
7 days shall you keep a solemn feast unto Yahweh your Elohim, in the place which Yahweh shall choose, because Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in all your increase, and in all the works of your hands. Therefore, you shall surely rejoice.
All right. So it talked about 3 different feasts there in that verse, from verse 1 all the way to verse 15. It talked about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which you're going to make a free will offering, which it didn't talk about it yet, but it's going to tell you later. That's the first one. Then your second one is the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost. And then now your third one is talking about Feast of Tabernacles. Now it's telling you on these 3 days are the feast days. So there's harvests associated with these 3 dates. So on these 3 dates with each harvest, you are to give Yah his increase. You're supposed to give him his offering because you're thanking him. You're acknowledging, listen, I might have planted seeds and did the work, but Yah adds the increase. So I owe him a portion. The best portion of what I have belongs to Yah, because you're acknowledging this is not my will that this stuff grew. Yah did this. Yah caused this stuff to grow. Yah causes it to rain, causes the sun to come out, causes a seed to be a good seed or a bad seed. He causes that. So what we were to do is when we made these harvests is to turn around and give a portion back to Yah. And when we gave that portion back to Yah, does Yah need the food? Is he going to eat the food and like, well, thank you. This is some good corn. He don't need that. He's telling you, you want to do something for me. This is like a father would tell anybody about his children. You want to do something nice for me? Take care of my children. You see my son not feeling well over there. You know, give him some medicine since you're a doctor and since I helped you amass all this medicine that you got here, or give him some water. So he's thirsty. You see my son is thirsty. I'm good. If I got everything, you giving me water means nothing to me. But if my child is over there hungry or thirsty and you take care of them, then you're doing something nice for me. So this is what the Most High is requiring. When he's requiring us to do this offering, yeah, we have a certain portion that we burn or do whatever or wave and do the ritual, and the portion goes to the Levite. Because guess what? The Levite was poor too. Because did the Levite get an inheritance? No. He didn't get no land. He didn't get no land to start planting and doing stuff with. He got suburbs in each of the tribes so that he could do the ministry of the Most High. So he can do the work. So the Levite was poor too. So the Levite got his portion, got the best portion, Yah's portion. And then the remaining went to the poor, the fatherless, the widows, and the stranger that didn't have anything. That's how you took care of Yahweh. It didn't go all in the priest's pocket so he can go buy a helicopter. That's completely the opposite of what he had. By doing that, that pastor that does that takes all the tithes and does everything and masses him a big old house and a bunch of material things while he's got starving brothers and sisters in the world, is no different than the parable with the guy with the barnyard. Oh, I'm going to build me a bigger barn so I can fit even more of my stuff. And what did Yah say to him? On that day, what?
Your life is required of you.
That day, your life is required of you because you thought all this extra stuff was so that you can get bigger savings. No. He's saying, you know what? I'm putting it in your hand so you can distribute and give it to those that need. So you can prove that the blessing that I gave you, you going to put the gift giver over the gift. Verse 16, brother.
3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.
All right, so now it's tying everything together. This is why I talked about those 3 feast days, because on these 3 feast days, which is in these 3 times of the year, all males must appear. These are appearances. These are important. On these feast days, you are representing your family, the heads of the household, the males. And then all the boy children and everything are also going with the males to go before in front of Yahweh and thank Yahweh for the blessings that he has given them throughout the year that just passed, bringing you into this new year. And you are representing your family, and you may not appear empty-handed. That's why you have to come with the blessing. Yah gave everybody something. If you didn't have nothing, you wouldn't be alive. So you have something to offer. So now, being that we don't have crops, many of us don't have big properties with all this food, we can't really necessarily offer that. So we have to offer what we can, the best we can offer, which is our servitude, which is our obedience, our self. And we come before the Father and say, listen, I give you everything that I have, the money that's in my pocket. If I see somebody starving or hungry, I'm going to make sure they have something to eat. If that means, you know, I'm taking and I'm be a little tight, I'm a little tight. Now, am I going to say here, Yana, give me this chicken out your mouth here? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure my kid eat first. It says, he who takes care of another before his own is worse than an infidel, worse than somebody who don't even believe in the Most High. So yeah, there's still order. But the Most High, again, according to he has blessed you. So if he blessed you where you got
$20 in your pocket, and you see that poor person, that hungry person, and that's all you got is $20, and that person hungry, guess what? The Most High blessed that person with $20 because that's all you had. Now you can ask him, hey bro, you got change? He might pull out a wallet. Yeah, what you need? Yeah, you know. But hey, at the end of the day, that's all you got. The Most High blessed them with $20. What I always do is I try to make sure, you know, it happened to me today. I had to, you know what I'm saying? I saw somebody that needs something and I gave it to it. I made sure, listen, this is who gave it to you. Had the same hat on. So don't give me no credit. The Most High loved you so much that he sent one of his servants because he knew if he was around, you was going to eat today, or you was going to have an opportunity to eat today. And that's how we do our tithes. It's throughout the whole year. Now, when you come before the Most High, you offer yourself. And you can't offer yourself with leaven in it. It says that as we go more into the offering aspect in other classes, it says in there, you cannot offer my offering with leaven. You cannot. So when you offering yourself, you can't offer yourself flawed. That's like when it was animal sacrifices and you give a lamb and the lamb got, you know, 3 legs and he can't even bat. He like bat. He just retarded. You can't offer that to the Most High. He gonna be like, you mean you done gave me the retarded lamb? Well, that's not the proper term. The
afflicted lamb.
The afflicted lamb, the mentally, you know, disabled lamb, or the bodily injured lamb.
Wounded.
The Most High will be like, wait a minute, what about that clean Yui lamb you got, that baby brand new one that you keep holding, you holding in your arm where you're saying, here you go. What about that one? Ain't that's the one you love? Why you didn't give me that one? That's what he wants. So that's the same thing. There's a better version of us, a more perfect version that doesn't sin all the time. That when he does sin or when she does sin, she repents or he repents. That's the offering that he wants from us. That's what he wants us to understand when he's talking about removing the leaven out your house. Get rid of that leaven in your heart. That leaven, the thing that causes you to puff up, the thing that causes you to be bitter towards people. Get rid of that. Then come before me so that I can accept your offering. And now what you think the Most High going to do when you here's the best that I have. He going to turn around and say, man, here, give it to the poor people. And I'm going to bless you even more. 7-fold for what you gave me. So it's a good investment. But if you like, here's some rotten cabbage. You be like, man, that's I would have rather you not give me nothing and say I don't have nothing to give you because I'm not able to give you nothing. I'm flawed. You know, that's like the man that took the prayer, you know, forgive me, Elohim, I'm a sinner. You know, that's different. That's better offering than saying, you know, here I go. And you ain't even trying. So this is why he gives us that 7 days to work on that. Even when you appear before him, he said, I know you still got some leaven in you. But those 7 days, I want you to focus on making sure whatever leaven you got out, don't get back in. And any other leaven that you felt that you found, get rid of it. Repent immediately. All right, we read through 17. Let's go to Isaiah, Yeshayah, chapter 1, because this is not a new problem. This ain't just start. This is something that we've been dealing with, and the children of Yahshua have been dealing with for the whole time we was in Israel. Whole time, to the point where he just got so fed up. He's like, look, man, just go. Get out. Sister, can you bring me some water, please? Yamsi, you need some more?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeshayah, Isaiah, chapter 1. And the issue with us as a people is every time the Most High blesses us with something, we get puffed up. We start believing we better than what we are because we got blessed with something, whether it's a gift, whether it's, you know, a blessing, some money, a position, a job, something that the Most High elevated us some kind of way. We start believing that we did, that we good. And then we start believing, well, if he blessed me in this, that means what I'm doing really ain't that bad. Whereas the Most High is trying to say, listen, I'm encouraging you to continue this process. I like the direction that you're going. You're unleavening, you're repenting, you're growing, you're doing better works, producing better fruit. Thank you, sister. So here, I'm encouraging you. But we take it as that's co-signing that I'm good. Then we start not even staying at the level. We start getting worse to the point where we just going through the motions. We just keeping the commandment by a checklist just to say that we did it. We showed up. We gave something. You know, we threw the bread out the fridge, you know, but we didn't look under the couch. You know, we didn't vacuum the basement rug. We didn't do nothing. Nah, we did it. Like the Most High don't know what's right there. Like he can't see everything uncovered. Or we go overboard. We scrub the house clean completely, every corner, and brag about how long it took us to clean. And I just did so much work. So that we can not pay attention to what we're supposed to be doing in here because we trying to overdo it. And that's the same thing where you have that term super brew, where super brew, he trying to be overly, let me see them. Shh, man, them fringes is just 1/4 inch too long. You know, like, where you got that law from? They overdo it because they're not trying to focus on themselves. And that's why Yahshua said, worry about that speck in your eye before you worry about that beam in your eye, before you worry about the speck in your brother's eye. So we want to make sure that we always keep our mind on the spirit of the law of why we are trying to do something so that we understand the lesson. We are way too far in the process. We came out the wilderness, came out of Egypt, came out of several captivities. Yahshua done came, died, resurrected, new assembly, Melchizedek order, everything done happened for us to be still stuck in that our forefather stage where we just, you're profaning the Sabbath. You done healed this man. You done did some work. We way too far from there. So we should have a spiritual understanding of why we're doing these commandments, why we're keeping these commandments. And if we don't have it while we're keeping the commandments, because it's not a question of whether you should do it. Just do it. But while you're keeping it, why am I doing this? And doing the act, the understanding should come of why you're doing it so you can focus your mind better on keeping the commandment. So we're in Isaiah, Yeshayah, chapter 1. And shalom, brother Thomas Darrell. Appreciate the comment, brother.
Yeshayah, chapter 1 and verse 1. The vision of Yeshayah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehuda. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yahweh has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knows his owner, and the donkey his master's crib, but Yasharal does not know. My people does not consider.
We don't even consider who we are. Some of us looked to say, who am I? And actually researched. I did that as far as, I wonder where my ancestors came from. But that was really the furthest I went with it. But we never really truly considered, hardly any of us did, truly considered who we were. We just tried to grab a hold of everything we could. Just a couple of days ago, we was Irish. Then a week, 2 weeks ago, we was a fictional place in Africa. Wakanda. We Wakandian. Brother, you see some of the most coolest brothers ever. All of a sudden, they rocking dashikis. And they kid rocking dashiki with their white wife. This is how lost we are. We don't consider who we are. But even the ox knows his owner and knows where to go. But it was somebody that came up to us that told us who we were. That's how merciful the Most High was. I can speak for me. I can't speak for Jonathan or anybody else. But so I didn't go out there, hey, what nation am I from? Somebody told me, bro, you from Israel. And they used the little 12 chart thing. He said, congratulations, sir. You're from Benjamin. I was like, I'm a Benjamite. All right. Because, Jamaicans, we Benjamites. But at least I knew I was from the 12 tribes. And that's how we came into it. So we didn't consider. Somebody came to us. Yah sent somebody to us. And that's why anytime we get down or downtrodden or depressed about a financial matter or a relationship matter or whatever, we always think, man, we could be going through the same thing like everybody else go through, because we all go through the same type of problems without knowing who you are, without understanding how merciful the Most High is, without understanding the end game and that if you just endure, it's promised to you. That's a blessing. That should instantly say, you know what, I can't feel too bad because, man, I'm going through all this stuff with the key to answer. The the answer to the puzzle. The whole thing is right there.
Verse 4. Yeshaya, Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 4. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken Yahweh. They have provoked the Holy One of Yasharal unto anger. They are gone away backward. Why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart is faint.
So wow, man, he's talking bad about these people. Who you talking about, Esau? Who you talking about, Gentiles? Or he's got to be talking about them Gentiles, or them Canaanites, because them Canaanites was wicked.
He's talking about Assadish people.
He's talking about Assad. He's talking about us. He's talking about us. But yet we think we so wise. Are we wiser than our forefathers? No, we fall victim to the same thing, the lust of the flesh. Go ahead.
From the sole of the foot, even unto the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment.
So we're unclean, we're damaged, bleeding, suffering, and we're not even trying to heal ourselves. We standing up with a sign, trying to talk to our wounds, talking about, hands up, heal. Heal. Hands up, clean infection. Stop gangrening. You're not finna solve nothing like that. You got to say, well, what's the problem? First of all, let me heal this. Let me put some ointment because, man, this is a problem. Then I need to figure out, why am I sore? Am I got sore because I'm just laying down in my sin all day? I took the adversary challenge and just said, you just fall down and worship me, just fell down and laid on our back till we got sores? This is what we're not considering that. We're just saying,
What's the adversary challenge?
The adversary challenge is it's to fall down and worship me. That's what he told Yahshua. Look, you see this? You see this, Yahshua? All this stuff that you own, all of this right here can be yours. All you have to do is do the adversary challenge. Fall down and worship me.
Cool, the whole nation gonna do it.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Make it a challenge.
Hold on. Yeah. So you telling me all this stuff that's promised to me that I own, you mean the stuff I created, that I can take anytime I want, all this can be mine?
Yeah, they'll be out there
if I
they'll be out there
take myself from exaltation and lower myself and worship you and become death? Hey, that sounds like a good deal.
There'll be the adversary challenge out there taking Lucifer selfies, like with no problem.
Man,
hashtag sinful nation.
And you know that the Jamaicans come in there. We gonna step it up. We gonna add some flair to it. We bouncing on the ground, and we gonna take the challenge to the next level.
Do a split in the fire. You don't have to do that. They already do that.
They're gonna be some kind of new reggae song, some new rhythm that's gonna come out of it.
Verse 7. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence. And it is desolate as overthrown by strangers.
What is this, 2018 they're talking about here? No, this is Isaiah. I know this is Isaiah 1:1 through 1:18, not 2018, the year 2018. So this was back then, it was like that. And it's like that now. So if we've been doing the same thing that our forefathers were doing, then what makes us think that we're going to get back in the land under good conditions by doing the same thing that's been causing the same results that we reading back over 2,000 years ago? Go ahead.
Verse 8. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except Yahweh of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Hear the word of Yahweh, you rulers of Sodom, and give ear unto the law of our Elohim, you people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? Says Yahweh. I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required this at your hand to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new months and Sabbaths and the calling of assemblies I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting.
All right, so people like to twist this verse out. You see, bring no vain oblations to me. Incense is an abomination. Your new months, your Sabbaths, your calling of assemblies, I cannot away with it. It's iniquity, even the solemn meeting. So people take that. You see, this is why we can't keep the Sabbath. This is why we don't keep new months. This is why we don't keep holy day, because y'all said it's iniquity. He says, bring no vain oblation. Stop doing this vanity. Stop just showing up, but not trying to work on yourself, not presenting yourself in the right manner. And furthermore, he tells you in here point blank in 13, I cannot away with it. So he's so perfect that even though he commanded and it's just a pain in his butt, a thorn in his side, he's still allowing us to do it because he said we are to do it. Perfection. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Your new moons, your new months, and your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. And when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood.
And this is why that we are in the state that we're in, because the Most High not hearing our prayers. If he was hearing our prayers, we wouldn't be in the condition we were in. We would have better understanding and we'd be on top.
Verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow.
So if we do these things, we are already flawed. We already made mistakes. The benefit of doing these things is he's going to be merciful to us. He said, look, man, I know y'all flawed people. I called y'all sottish people, like what Jonathan said earlier. But listen, man, just learn to do well. Seek judgment. Okay, you ain't doing all that way. Okay, wash you. Make yourself clean. Because I already know you're dirty. Put away the evil of your doings. Cease to do evil. Stop doing wickedness. See, some of us don't know how to do good, but we know how to do wickedness. At least just stop doing wickedness. Stop doing the things that are wicked. Then in that process, learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless and plead for the widow. All these things are services talking about doing for other people, not just yourself, but do these good deeds for other people because these people are your family. This is your nation.
All right. Verse 18. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken it.
All right. So he's telling us point blank, if you continue to do these things, you will be devoured. But on the flip side, hey, you've already done this wickedness. Everybody on this planet has already done some form of wickedness. So when we have done that wickedness, guess what? The good news is, listen, you can stop doing what you're doing right now. Stop and say, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. Repent. And there's a subset of laws, statutes, and judgments that you can follow, that you can look for and search. Let me search through these scriptures and find these laws. And let me just follow it. Now, what that will do, give us a reset. Now, Yahweh said, I will get rid of your sins. You'll be white as snow, even though you're blood red like scarlet. You'll be white as snow. And now that you have stopped doing these things, now I can hear your prayers again. Not only your prayers, but now I can hear the prayers of the Holy Spirit that are praying for the things that you need to pray for, that you're not even aware that you need to pray for. And once this happened, now you can start having true blessings in your lives. True things could start to work out for you. You can now start being a blessing for somebody else and produce fruit for somebody else. But we don't understand that because we see these laws, statutes, and commandments. We see it like some kind of restriction. But it's not restriction. It's basically cutting off lanes. Saying, listen, there's holes here. There's fire here. There's a lion here that wants to devour you. And there's wickedness here. And there's all kind of sin here. Just walk right here. If you walk right here, trust me, it's going to lead you right to the land of milk and honey. And you're going to be good. But the problem is the adversary, the devil, has come in and said, nah, listen, you can go here. There's a hole there, but you used to do long jump in high school, right? You get it. Just jump across. You'll be good. Look, there's good stuff over there. And we go over there and we stepping in dog crap and, stepping in a bear trap and all kind of stuff. But you survived. But then we got this little, some little piece of chocolate or something, some kind of little gift. And then we're feeling like, well, I got the chocolate. I wanted chocolate. So I can go these other ways. And when we go those other ways, we might think that we're getting what we want, but we end up falling right back into another hole, further and further in affliction and anguish and punishment. And we don't learn that lesson because when we come on the TV, it's saying, hey, listen, if you fall in a bear trap and get your leg cut off, dial this number right here and then we'll fix your leg for you. Or you fall in that hole, you messed up them shoes. Hey, that's why you work. Get a brand new pair of shoes over here. Buy 2 of them. Get half off the 3rd one. So all that takes our focus off. And while we're doing all that, more and more problems are piling up. And the Most High is moving further away from us and not listening to us and not hearing our prayers. Go ahead.
Are we finishing at verse 20?
Yeah, we finished at verse 20. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. When we come into this word, we come from a life of lawlessness where we do whatever we want and we think about whatever we want. As long as it's acceptable in society, we good. But society has got so bad that the deviancy has now become acceptable. So now, because it's acceptable, those that wanted to do wickedness but wouldn't do it because it was unacceptable are now doing it. And that's why the commandments are so necessary, because the Most High wants to bless us. All of us, including the nations. He wants to bless them too. But in the order, he wants to bless Israel first and then the rest of the world. So he wants to bless it. But you have to follow the instructions, the roadmap. You have to follow the treasure map to get to the treasure of salvation. So keeping the commandments is teaching us how to stay on that narrow path to get there. And we have to trust that, hey, listen, I've tried my way and we see what it's resulted. It's resulted me in depression. It's resulted me in unhappiness. It's resulted me in health issues. It's resulted in, family members getting killed off and all different types of things is causing me unhappiness. Let me try a different way and see how life changes. And guess what? Certain things might not change. You might still lose loved ones. You might still get sick. But your mind frame is different. You now have the peace of Yahshua. The peace that Yahshua said, listen, I leave you peace, not peace like the world gives peace, but I leave you a different peace, a peace that gives you a true understanding and true blessing and true happiness in life. Because no matter what you go through, you content in Yah, because this is like a vapor. This is nothing. This is going to pass by. I'm trying to get that permanent spot in the kingdom where I have forever of happiness. 1 Corinthians
chapter 5 and verse 1. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife. And you are puffed up, and have not rather mourned, that he that has done this deed might be taken away from among you. For I verily, as absent in body, but present in spirit, have judged already, as though I were present, concerning him that has done this deed. In the name of our Master Yahshua Mashiach, when you are gathered together in my spirit, with the power of our Master Yahshua Mashiach, to deliver such a one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Master Yeshua. Your glorying is not good. Know you not that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you are unleavened. For even Mashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us.
All right, so know you not that a little leaven leavens the whole lump. So this is why we are supposed to work to the best of our ability to try to remove that leaven from us. The same process where we're thinking, you know what? I should probably clean these walls because, you know, when people eat, they spit and bread come out their mouth and, you know, stuff evaporates. There's probably leaven all over the wall. So let me wipe the walls down. We think about that. Well, we need to think in our actions too. You know what? I really didn't deal with that brother the right way, or I didn't deal with that sister the right way. And, you know, I really need to fix this, or I really need to change this, or, you know, this thing that this thorn in my side that I keep fighting with all this time that I can't remove. I really need to try to get it knocked out this year so I can move on to the next thing that I need to get removed. Because just a little bit of leaven leavens the whole lump. And take that and tie that with the precept where it says, if you know to do good and do evil, then sin lies at the door, and unto you will be its desire. You will be its desire. So when you sin, it starts with, yeah, just a little bit. Then all of a sudden you're doing something else, like a lie. You lie about one thing. Oh yeah, I wasn't there. I was at work. Oh really? You was at work? I just seen your car in front of the grocery store. Oh, well, I had went to the grocery store, you know, when I got back from work because I had got off early. Really? Because I was looking at your Facebook and you were just posting about you was out eating it with your boo. Well, I mean, you my boo. But I was saying that I was trying to, and you just keep going and going and going. At what point do you say, man, listen, I lied? We can't. Before you know it, your brain is already creating all kind of master lies. In case you say this, I got another lie after that. Because this is how sin operates. Just like when you check somebody about sin. Hey, bro, you know this is transgression of the law. According to Deuteronomy 23 and verse 7, you broke this law. Man, bro, don't be judging me, man. Who is you? Da, 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 da. Now, all of a sudden, you lashing out at the brother. You calling them names. You doing everything because it's just so easy for that sin to attach onto you. That's why we can't take any of those sins for granted. We got to focus on them, work on them. And if you can't remove it, pray on it. At least acknowledge it. Go ahead, brother.
1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, as you are unleavened. For even Mashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
All right, you can stop right there. Let's go on to John chapter 13. Yohanan chapter 13, we're just going to read 1 through 17. So whatever things that we know that our heart and our mind and the Holy Spirit has told us that we need to work on that. If it's in your heart to work on it, the first thing that I would do is I would go find the laws pertaining to it. Find the laws pertaining to it. So you can first see, am I even transgressing the law? And then when you find that you're transgressing the law, then say, well, okay, how do I fix my situation? Sometimes it's not as simple as just stopping something, because you got to repent, you got to restore, you got to do different things, and you got to confess. Then you can go to that level. And then the next step I would do is I would look at everybody in here that dealt with that. How did they overcome it? And then also those people that didn't overcome, what happened to them? And all these things are a motivation to you to say, hey, wow, you know, the Most High was merciful to this servant. He killed this brother, and, you know, he was sorry and he repented and he was able to move on and do this and do that. Or this brother did that and this brother did this. He lied about this. He stole that. This person got killed. This other person didn't get killed. And you'll find that Yah will have mercy on whom he will and won't have mercy on whom he won't. So the best thing we can do is try to show him, hey, Yah, we the people that want your mercy.
John chapter 13 and verse 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own, which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil now having put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from Yahweh and went to Yahweh, he rise up from the supper and laid aside his garments and took a towel and girded himself.
All right, so if this is what they call the last meal or the Passover, he was eating the Passover and it was nighttime. What calendar day was this?
It was the 15th.
The 15th, because surely Yahshua is going to keep the feast days the correct day. I gamble that he kept the correct days and man kept the incorrect days, because it says all men are liars. So I'm surely he kept the right feast day. Go ahead.
Verse 5. After that, he pours water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then comes he to Simon Kepha, Peter, and Kepha said unto him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yeshua answered and said unto him, What I do you know not now, but you shall know hereafter. Kepha said unto him, You shall never wash my feet. Yeshua answered him, If I wash you not, you have no part with me. Simon Kepha said unto him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yeshua said unto him, He that is washed needs not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and you are clean, but not all.
All right, so Yeshua is also giving you a golden nugget there, right there. Listen, all you need to do is wash your feet, and you are considered spiritually clean from that point, or physically clean from whatever uncleanness that you have if you wash your feet. And what Yeshua is doing here, again, in this unleavened process, remember what the disciples used to fight about, who is greater than who, and this, that, and the other. And Yeshua said, nah, y'all still got this leaven in you, even on unleavened bread. So what I want you to do is I want you to learn from example. I'm the greatest among you, but I'm going to serve you. I'm going to humble myself and wash another grown man's feet. And they ain't like our feet today. We got Jordans on our feet, you know, and nice plush slippers and everything. Like, man, these brothers walking around in sandals, kicking rocks and dirt and stepping in all kind of donkey mess to be on the floor. Who knows what they stepping on? You know, they have them nice little toenail clippers we got, you know, and everything, files and, you know, foot massagers and all. They have all that type of stuff. So he humbled himself and he led by example and had the disciples do the same thing. Serve one another. That's unleavened. That's leaven within you when you are lording yourself over brothers and sisters. He said, don't do that. That's what the Gentiles do. Don't make yourself master over anybody. There's only one master. That's like the stomach trying to say to the arm, I'm your master. No, you're not. You're a servant to the brain just like everybody else. You gotta do what the brain tells you to do. The arm don't tell the stomach what to do, or vice versa. So this is part of our unleavening process in our own situation. Are we lording over in our houses, over, you know, our children and our wives and our family that lives with us? Are we lording over people at our jobs, talking to them any kind of way because we in some kind of position of power, you know, oppressing somebody, pushing work on other people because you don't want to do it? You know, are we lording over people in our assemblies because, you know, we've been here longer or we're older? Or, you know, we started it, or we were here in the beginning, or whatever the case. Are we lording over people? Or are we serving everybody? Are we taking turns to do the dishes, taking turns to do the things that maybe the sisters might do, the cleaning, the cooking, things that they willfully do to be part of their offering in the assembly? Do we help out with those things, or we lord over them because we the man, we in charge? Do we do those things? You know, so This is part of the example Yahshua was trying to do. And that's why also on unleavened bread, we do the same thing, which is a tradition. It's not a law, but it's a tradition. We remind ourselves to humble ourselves by washing each other's feet. And what we typically like to do is, how we do, wash my head and my, So we say, who got the ugliest feet? Bring them over here. I got it. And we have a competition that way, and we trying to wash feet that way. To make ourselves remember the humility of Yahshua and how we have to constantly work on that. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. John chapter 13 and verse 11. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, you are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, know you what I have done to you?
All right, so everybody got the feet washed and washed feet. So you physically clean from that point, from uncleanness. But if you are physically clean on the outside, your skin, but the inside of you is still unclean, you're not clean. So it's the same thing. You can take a bath, you can go get an immersion and come out that water and feel like you clean. You clean for that moment, but inside is still unclean. So it's just a matter of time before you defile that wedding garment. So he's talking about Yehudas Iscariot here. Listen, you all clean, but not all of you. Some of you are not clean. And in another place he said, listen, you are now clean by this word, but not all of you are clean. So that means even if the word itself can't clean you up, that's a dangerous place to be in. And we don't want to ever be that way where somebody is trying to give us the word, give us these commandments about a matter, and it still can't cleanse us. Then we are in Yehudas Iscariot state. We are in a state where we're ready to betray. We're ready to stab somebody on the back. Go ahead.
Verse 13. You call me master and teacher, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then, your teacher and master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you.
Not only just in serving one another, but also in mercy and forgiveness and compassion to one another. The Most High has been so compassionate to us to the point where when we weren't even looking to do righteousness, he still had mercy on us. He still saved us. And that's where him not appearing to us or visiting us and showing his presence to us to cause us to awaken to who we are is such a dangerous place to be. Because what people would do is justify, listen, I don't keep commandments. I do what I want to eat pork, go wherever. I don't keep no Sabbath day. And look at me. My life is straight. Got a nice house, nice car. Everything is good. Yeah, I had 2 ex-wives, but hey, so what? Everybody does that. So we start feeling like we good. And we taking that as Yah co-signing our wicked lifestyle instead of saying, man, Yah is being merciful to you. You don't know the difference between a blessing and grace. You in grace and mercy. That's not blessings you're receiving. That's grace and mercy. And we have to make sure that we understand the difference. You don't get blessed for doing wickedness, because that would be Yahweh saying, hey, listen, continue doing wickedness. I'm rewarding you for wickedness. No, that's grace. If he allow you to get something that's not going to kill you, if he give you something, allow you to have something that kills you, then that's not a blessing at all. That's not grace at all. But if he's allowing you to grow or receive something that is not killing you, then that's grace. Eventually that grace period runs out, just like when you say, hey, look, I ain't pay that bill today. And I ain't going to pay it tomorrow. And I ain't paying it next Friday either. And I ain't answering my phone. Eventually, what's going to happen to that bill?
It's going to end up in collections.
It's going to be due. You're going to pay it. You're going to receive the penalty. It's going to end up in collections. Now they added more money on it. It's hitting your credit. You still going to have to pay that bill. So you have to ask yourself, for people that are living that lifestyle where they doing whatever they want and it seems like everything is all good. Whereas, so you think about wickedness in the Most High putting a size G foot up your behind. You're like, man, who's really blessed? You? Because you at least considering your walk and acknowledging that, man, this is why this is happening to me, because I'm not keeping these commandments. Or the guy that's doing whatever he wants until he just died. Who's really blessed?
Verse 15. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his master, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are you if you do them.
All right. The servant is not greater than his master, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. Yahshua said, look, man, I'm your master. Yeah, I'm your teacher, which is true. But the servant not greater than me, but yeah, I'm washing your feet. Well, guess what? He that is sent, which is Yahshua being sent from the Father, is not greater than he that sent him. So he's still acknowledging this order too. Go ahead.
Verse 17, if you know these things, happy are you if you do them. Verse 17. You want to move
18.
18. I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen. But that the scripture may be fulfilled, he that eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it come, that when it is come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that receives whomsoever I send receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me.
And that's why we have to be very careful about pushing people out of our lives and cutting people out of our lives because, you know, they may have aggravated us, or I just don't like the way they talk, or whatever the case may be, because you don't know who sent that person. Now, if they constantly transgressing the law, then you know who sent that person. But if there's somebody that's trying to keep the commandments, he just like you. He's a sinner trying to repent, or she's trying to keep commandments and she's doing the best that she can, and she's a work in progress. You can't push that person away because you don't know if Yah sent that person. You don't know if Yahshua sent that person for you to work with them or for them to work with you, or both. We don't know that. So we got to be very careful when we cut people off, because you never know cutting somebody off. You don't know how that's going to affect them, where you could be effectively pushing them back out into the world because they needed you. That's why Yahweh sent them, so that you could be an example, or so you can show them patience and mercy and endurance, so that they could exercise that with themselves and try to repent. So we got to be very careful about that judgment thing, because the measure we meet is the measure that's going to be met to us. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to start this at verse 17. You know, these things are things that, you know, are not new concepts to us. That's brand new, where, you know, we're just, you know, oh, now I know I got to repent from sin. No. These are things that we have been working on. But when we come closer to Yah's days, the days where if we are appearing before him, that means he's got to be close to us. And if we are close to the Most High, that means there's not a lot of room for iniquity. So this is why when the holy days come around, the real holy days, you see a lot of stuff happening in the world. A lot of crazy things. And as we get closer to these holy days, especially its appearance, you're going to start seeing some strange things in the world. It's not by coincidence. Because when the Most High is here, and the Most High is allowing us to approach close to him, then there's a lot of judgment in the mix. And Yah will allow evil angels to do whatever they need to do as judgment, because, listen, I can't have this uncleanness around me. You knew better. Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to read the verses 17 through 32.
Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahshua, saying unto him, where will you that we prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, the master says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Yahshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12.
All right, so he's letting you know the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciples came to Yahshua. And that's kind of a mistranslation there. because it's Passover, it's Pesach. They're preparing. You're not preparing on the day of unleavened bread because that's a Sabbathon. You're not permitted to work. So this would be on the preparation day, which is Pesach, the 14th day. The real 14th day, not the 14th day that the Jewish people were keeping according to the moon. Because if you go into Flavius Josephus, you see that the Jews at that time were keeping a new moon. They were following the moon, which messes up your calendar. So this is why they were having a different Passover than Yahshua was having. So the 14th, they're saying, where do we prepare this Passover? So we're preparing the Passover. And then now you get to verse 20. Now even was come. So now you're going to the next day. Now it's the 15th. Now it's nighttime. Now it's the 15th. Now they're sitting down to eat the Passover. Now, you see, if he's following these commandments, clearly he's keeping the Passover and unleavened bread according to a different calendar. You need to find out what calendar that was. So even in the story, Yahshua is letting you know what they doing is wrong. We doing is different. You a follower of Christ, do what I do. Don't do what tradition do, that what they do. Because they're doing a tradition of men. They're saying they're keeping the commandments, but they're not truly keeping the commandments. They're keeping the calendar off. And even if they did it on the right day because their heart wasn't clean, they wouldn't even consider that they're doing it the wrong day. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples.
Okay, verse 21.
Oh, okay, yeah. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Master, is it I? And he answered and said, he that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Yehudas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, you have said. And as they were eating, Yahshua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink you all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives.
All right. So you see here, we're going to 32, right? Go ahead.
Verse 31, then said Yahshua unto them, all you shall be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee.
All right. So he drank, and he also took of that bread, and he broke bread with his disciples. This is what we do on the feast day. We break bread. Now, this is time of unleavened bread. So what kind of bread were they eating? Unleavened bread. Because he has to keep the commandments. It's Passover. It is unleavened bread. And for 7 days, we have to eat unleavened bread. So ain't no coincidence he's breaking bread and giving it to everybody to eat. He's having them keep the commandments. Everybody must eat unleavened bread 7 days. All right. Let's go to Acts chapter 12 for the conclusion. Acts chapter 12. And we're going to see around the time of unleavened bread, we're going to see some pretty amazing things happen here. But before, these miracles happen, you're going to see a servant being put in a very unfavorable position. And You can ask yourself, oh, woe is me. You know, I'm being persecuted for, you know, I didn't even do anything. And why is this bad? I'm keeping the commandments. I'm serving Yahshua. Why are these things happen? Why do I have to suffer? Well, sometimes the Most High will allow you to be in a certain position so that he can free you out of that position. So he can deliver you out of a situation that there's no way you would have been able to deliver yourself. Just so that other people can believe. Just so the Most High can get the glory. Because they're not going to say, hey, glory to you, man. That was a great job what you did. They're going to say, man, Yahweh was with you. Praise Yah. And again, this is after the birth, death, and resurrection of the Mashiach. And you're going to see here clearly they still keeping holy days. So you can't say Yahshua nailed holy days to the cross when Kepha, the man who said is the rock of the church, who has the power to make things good or make things bad or whatever, Yahshua gave him the power, said, look, whatever you absolve is absolved. Whatever you don't, you don't. But you see here clearly he's still trying to keep commandments.
Acts chapter 12 and verse 1. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the assembly.
Who was he the king of? Herod.
Jerusalem?
Right, he the king of Jerusalem, he the king of Israel, basically. Or they call it Judea, I guess, at that time or whatever. So he the king over Yasharal. And where Herod from?
He's an Edomite.
Esau. He an Edomite. So we have an Edomite king over us. So this is just as bad as we are now. We are in a situation where actually worse, because at least they was in their land.
Did he have, so what was it? What was his lineage again? Like some people from Edom were reigning in Rome and he was like sons of some of those.
If I remember correctly, I think it was Alexander the Great and them people that put him over there. Was that?
He was the son of, is it Antipater or something like that? He was like the son of like actual
one of them
Edom rulers.
Yeah, he was definitely all the way
like
Edom.
Maybe a Roman mother or something like that.
But I think he was associated and put in power by the
Roman
Greeks.
rulers. Yeah,
when they came in and they conquered, they put him over us. But you are in your land and you have an Edomite king that's over you. Your enemy, the people that hate you.
Got Caleb over you.
You know what I'm saying? You got people over you that hate you. Then on top of that, if you look at his history, this is how you got the whole Jewish through your mother crap. Because he married, I want to say Yehudith, or I think her name was Yehudith. Or he married Yehudim and now said, well, now I'm going to change all this. I'm Jewish now because my wife is Jew. So I'm Jewish because my wife. And my kids are all going to be Israelite now because my wife, I got me a Hebrew woman. And that's how that whole lineage thing switched up. And now all of a sudden you Jewish through your mother. That's Jewish. You don't see nowhere in the book you being reconciled according to your mother. You never see that. If that was the case, it'd be different. All of them wouldn't be tribes of Israel. You'd be like, nah. Because these, the first four, they born through, Leah. So, that's not an Israelite. That's a Laite. And then, the handmaids, them not brothers and sisters. They different bloodline because they got different mothers. They would have been talking that. But they said, no. All these is Yaakov. That's why the lady at the well that was speaking to Yahshua said, wait, are you greater than our father Yaakov? She knew her lineage. I'm an Israelite. Because my father is Yaakov. If your father is Yaakov, I don't care where in the lineage your father is Yaakov. If you come from that male line, you an Israelite.
Now, about the time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the assembly. Acts chapter 12 and verse 2. And he killed Yaakov, the brother of Yohanan, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Yehudim, he proceeded further to take Kepha also. And also those were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after the Passover to bring him forth to the people.
All right, so Jonathan read the revised version. But you go in the King James version, which is another revision of the original ones written. You see, they put in here Easter, attending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So we ask ourselves, was it really Passover that was there, or were they keeping Easter too? Because they were keeping Easter well before Christ was even in the scene. Astaroth, Asherah, they've been keeping that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were keeping Passover and keeping Easter. And it wasn't a mistake that they put in there. But then we try to change it to Passover to make it seem like it's Passover. What does the Septuagint say? You got it on your phone?
Well, this is New Testament, so it's not going to show. But
now on the what is it? The Caboras Codex.
It's though the Strong's here is supposed to say Pesach. It's just that this is one of those Lord God things
They
where the King
translated
James
it
translated
straight.
out to Easter.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if they were still keeping Easter.
The Greek there is 3957.
G3957.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Pascha?
Mm-hmm. Pascha.
Read it.
Pascha of Chaldee origin compared to peacock, which is 6453, which I believe is the H number.
Mm-hmm.
The Passover, the meal, the day, the festival, or the special sacrifices connected with it. Then it says Easter, Passover.
Easter. Yeah. At least they're telling you in this one the same thing they did with Hodesh, new moon. Wait a minute. That's not what that means. So they put their translation in. That's why it's important that you have a Strong so you can check the words and make sure you know what was the original word, at least in whatever language it was written in.
Verse 5. Kepha therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the assembly unto Elohim for him. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Kepha was sleeping between two soldiers bound with two chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison.
Why did it happen to be two soldiers? Why do you think? Bound with two chains. What if it had been one soldier and maybe one chain? What would be the difference when you got two soldiers and two chains? You get what?
It's for Yah's glory.
Yah's glory. And how is he getting the glory?
Because it's extra security here. He's not supposed
two
to escape.
witnesses. One dude, he could have like, listen here, man. I'm gonna go ahead and slide you these pesos, or these Caesar chips to the casino. You can take these and let me go. He could lie. Oh man, yeah, I don't know what happened. He just disappeared, and all of a sudden I seen him walking out. They'd be like, man, you liar. Took some bribe. They'd kill him. But y'all made sure there was two witnesses, two soldiers that was like, man, he did. I know he didn't do it because I was there. And the other one, I know he didn't do it because I was there. He was right in between us. I don't know how this happened. Man had two chains. Man had two chains. You know what I'm saying? But somehow this happened. So Yah got the glory because there were two witnesses to prove this is some kind of miracle.
There's two soldiers in there with him, and then there's keepers in front of the door keeping it. They had him under some maximum security over his speech.
Man, I mean, he must have had some heavy artillery. He must have had a lot of swords, and he was a heavy, drug dealer back in the day.
Satan was mad.
This man was spitting truth, the same truth that they killed his master for. So
and his boy, they just killed
his boy.
And
they give Yohanan his brother Yaakov, and he said, and it pleased the Yehudim. Yeah. So Esau was like, yeah, that pleased y'all. Yeah, this is gonna cause even more pain and suffering to come to y'all. I'm getting to kill one of your people, which is gonna make you happy, which is gonna make Yahweh kill you. This is a win-win for me. Go ahead, brother.
And this just the other day I was watching a documentary on how Saudi Arabia and Iran have beef based on just differences in their Islamic understandings, Sunni and Shiite and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw another thing, some other wars, and just laid people in the street, plop, plop, right in the back.
Like it's nothing.
And I could just see like them doing that here, but like you don't have guns or anything. But it's the same concept. Like we're just gonna execute you just like that, and how the rest of the believers, the rest of the church, the rest of the assembly felt about it. Like yo, they really killed. Like some of the people might have drew back in fear, but the others were emboldened. Like I hate.
That's great.
The way
kill some more.
Yeah, like I hate the way they executed Saul or Paul, but I'm not ceasing for this word. So there was like more zeal where you already gave up your life because you knew the penalty. They done shot the man dead in front of the whole council. Everybody was in joy about it, and you seeing it. You're in the crowd like, oh my God, like your heart want to sink, just like when they ran from Yeshua.
Sinking in that chair real low.
Your heart want to sink like, oh my gosh, and then. You meditate on it later and you just like full with zeal, like I'm never gonna stop preaching this word no matter what these people do to me.
How can I stop when my brother, same brother I was walking with, just got killed and he manned up? It's just like the 7 sons, just watching your brother just be like, do what you gotta do. Chopped up. The next one, man, that's messed up, but do what you gotta do. And then now you the 5th one. You like, I don't know. You it's like, even if you would have been the first one, you might have been like, oh no, wait a minute, hold up. You know what I'm saying? But after you done seen that, you've been emboldened, it emboldens you to even do more. They got a term for that. When you see a bunch of people doing something, I think it's like mob mentality or mob syndrome. I think it's called mob syndrome, which is a mob mentality. When you just get caught up and you start doing it. Well, same thing for righteousness. You see everybody being valiant. This is why he said, look, man, you just got married. You just built a vineyard. You just built a house. Man, are you just scared? Yes? Go home, because I don't need that stuff spreading. It's the same thing with righteousness. So they know this. This is why they don't want us to do the right things. This is why they pulled 13, 14 books out of here, because they said, man, I don't want people to see how hard for righteousness some of our people were, and that how that same spirit might be in you to do righteousness. Now let's remove it, because I don't want them getting any kind of momentum. Because if they the first ones and they feel like they the first ones dealing with this, they might be more emboldened to cower out.
Question: what is it called in the book of Maccabees? Is there anything in this version that we're reading that's like that, where you had a mother that was like, I know y'all are gonna kill my son, but it's what it is. Mm-hmm. And then the son. So I think that's well, we all know that it's on purpose that they took that out of it, because I remember after I read that story, I was like,
how can I just be slack? Right.
I was like, man, I really need to, things need to change, because these were my brothers. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're right. It really was on purpose that they took these books out, because these things do spread, just from reading.
Right. Why would you take Susanna out? It's one book. It's like a short book. Why would the church say, you know what? This is going to cause people to go astray. Let me just remove this. This woman said, I'd rather die and be in the hands of the Most High than to be defiled and be wicked. Nah. They don't want the woman to be that straight. They want the woman to be quiet and sit, don't say nothing and just, carry food around and be oppressed, so they can say, oh, you oppress your people. Your women are oppressed. They don't want to know the righteousness and the virtuousness of our women. And it wasn't just about the woman. It was about Danielle too. This is the entry of Danielle to come in here where the Most High put his spirit on him. So they removed these books for a reason, because these are your history. Not only does it point to the who did this and the names, which gives you the times that, hey, it wasn't that long ago that this happened. They removed that. They chose to use this version where they can use English words to kind of lead you up. I didn't lie. I mean, it means that in English too. But why you chose a word that's going to confuse somebody or make somebody believe something else?
Acts chapter 12 and verse 7.
And Shalom, Arthurine Campbell. Good to see you.
And behold, the angel of Yahweh came upon him, and a light shined in the prison, and he smote Kepha on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise up quickly. And his chains fell off from his hands. And the angel said unto him, Gird yourself, and bind on your sandals. And so he did. And he said unto him, Cast your garment about you, and follow me. And he went out and followed him. and knew not that it was true which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. When they were past the first and the second ward,
So the first and the second ward, again, 2 witnesses.
they came unto the iron gate that leads unto the city, which opened to them of his own accord. And they went out and passed through one street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. And when Kepha was come to himself, he said, Now I know of a surety that Yahweh has sent his angel, his malach, and has delivered me out of the hand of Herod, and from all the expectation of the people of the Yehudim.
Man. And he said, and verse 11, and when Kepha was come to himself, that means he was under the Spirit. He just, because first of all, if he was himself, he'd been like, hey, man, they finna kill me. They see me walking around here. I'm supposed to be locked up. That's terrifying. You in jail, and all of a sudden, you just free walking around, the cell blocks. What you think gonna happen? They gonna be like, oh, man, how you got out of here? Oh, well, man, these people beat you to death. They gonna try to kill you because that's their job. Because if you're gonna see what happens, they gonna get in trouble.
Facing pending execution.
Right. So sometimes when y'all got to use your vessel to do some glorious works, he got to take you out of yourself and put his spirit over you so that you can be emboldened to do the thing that needed to be done. That means another spirit is over you, which will cause you to do things outside of your character. Because you saw how Kepha was. This the same dude was like, man, I don't know that dude. Bruh, you got on his shirt that say Yahshua. Man, I don't know this dude, man. It was cold outside. Only shirt I had. This the same dude. The same dude who cussed at the lady. No, surely. He went to Jerusalem High with this dude. That's his boy. Nah, bro. I went to Galilee. I don't know what you're talking about. And look at him now. Yahweh used him, put a spirit over him, and allowed him to bring glory into the Most High and continue the ministry. And if that didn't happen, would we even have the word today? Who knows?
And verse 11, when it says how Kepha came to himself and said, now I know of a surety that Yahweh has sent his angel and delivered me out of his hand. There's on a minuscule scale, when you walk in on this walk, you're gonna have doubt where you're not sure. Maybe Yahweh might be with me on this. Maybe Yahweh might be with me on that. And I'm not sure about anyone else, but sometimes you come out certain things and it's like, no, Yah is definitely, Yah alone brought me through this situation. Like, it's like a full sensation that comes over you. It's like, oh my goodness, I really made it out of this. Or it's almost like somebody pouring a bucket of cold ice water, like the ice water challenge, where it's like, that was Yah. Like it really just shocks you. But it shocks you into like full belief, like I have to serve Yah for the rest of my life, But that's for like on a lower scale, daily stuff that we go through. Where even when you think, oh yeah, Yah really brought me through that, there might be a part of your mind like, yeah, the wind did blow a little bit this time, so that's the only reason why the car missed me. That's why I didn't get hit. Like you kind of could rationalize it as a natural occurrence. But I can only imagine right here where he's like,
there's no way you can't gainsay the way out of this.
Yeah. He was like, now I know of a surety Yah sent his angel. I was dead. Like he was pretty much in his soul. Like I was a dead man. This swole dude over this swole. I had chains on my hands.
If he came to himself, means he just was like out in front of the gate, like angel disappeared. He's like, I know I was just watching this, but I'm thinking that this is a vision because I'm like, how is this even happening? And what'll happen when our walk is some of us, and I could, from dealing with everybody and, having the confidence of a lot of our assembly, I've heard what each and everybody has gone through, and I know, and I be around each other. We know how we are. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we've witnessed, man, the Most High was with you. Especially when we've gone through something and somebody else in your assembly went through the same thing. The Most High was with you because you barely made it out of that. Then you see somebody else go through the same thing and you're able to counsel them in that time that they're going through it. And you can say, don't worry, the Most High with you. I remember I went through my span, and I'm still going through my span of stuff. And, a brother, was giving me that analogy of, the picture with the footsteps. And, I was just kind of looking as I was starting to be restored back from the things that the Most High allowed to be stripped from me. And the brother was like, bro, you didn't realize it, man. It was 4 steps that whole time. From the last several blocks of stuff you've been going through, there's only been 2 steps, bro. Them ain't your feet, bro. You done been passed out a long time ago. The Most High been carrying you. Yahshua been carrying you through this stuff. And you're just going through these things and getting to the destination and looking back like, dang, bro. Really? Did I just walk through all this damage? You like, and you coming through like, I know I should have some bullet holes
smell
here.
the fire on your clothes.
I'm like, man, bro, this is a white tee, bro, and there's no burn marks on this. But you looking at the trail of damage behind you and what you went through, and then people are like, my goodness, you're freaking amazing. You've been going through all this, but I've been seeing you every Shabbat, every Bible study, like nothing happened. And people start to give you that know a little bit of your personal story, try to give you some credit as being strong. And that's your test at that point. Because now that's time for you to say, bruh, that was the Most High. I'm not even going to take credit for that. Because you knew you couldn't do that. Because the first thing that happened to you was, oh, woe is me. You was already crying and broke down. So you know that wasn't you that all of a sudden said, shh. Like the Spike Lee joint where he just be floating. And the shot be moving and he's not even walking, but he's moving. You know you ain't do that, bro. You know you ain't do that. So Kiefer, like you said, was just at the point where, look, you can't even take credit for that, bro. You don't even fathom that, bro.
But yeah, I remember that prayer I made. He's probably in there just like in despair. Because usually it'll say, they heard him singing or, nah, it was just like, he was just in prison.
Bro, they killed the brother. They killed Yaakov, bro. Mm-hmm. Man, you already mourning that dude. You probably not even too much concerned with yourself. You looking at your brother like, bro, dead. I'm already dead, but that's all right. I deserve to be dead because I denied the Mashiach thrice. So it's all good. At least I got to do some good deeds before I went out. But bro, they killed Yaakov. And Yaakov, was it the son of Alphaeus? I don't even remember. Which one was it?
No, it was
Yohanan's brother. So these are I don't remember the language.
Yaakov was Yeshua's brother.
Well,
too.
There's multiple
Jameses.
Remember, there was multiple Jameses. That's why they gave the last names. But he was somebody else's brother. Go ahead, bro.
All right, verse 12. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of Yohanan, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. And as Kepha knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken named Rhoda. And when she knew Kepha's voice, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told how Kepha stood before the gate. And they said unto her, You are mad. But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. Then said they, It is his angel. Everybody thinks this man is dead.
But first of all, where in here do they get that when you die, you turn into an angel? You don't see no stories and nobody coming back in the form of an angel until maybe Revelation, where now you seeing somebody saying, oh, I too am a servant. And we said, I'm an angel. I'm also one of your brothers of the tribes. So that was kind of weird right there, because wait a minute, how you going to be an angel, but then you my brothers from the 12 tribes? Go ahead.
And then to think about, ain't nobody going to escape from Rome, the iron beast that devours the nation and stamps out the residue.
They conquer religions.
Okay. Verse 16. But Kepha continued knocking. And when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. But he, beckoning unto them with the hand to hold their peace. They don't make no noise, bro. I don't know how I made it out. Just chill.
Bro, the feds looking for me.
But he, beckoning unto them with the hand to hold their peace, declared unto them how Yahweh had brought him out of the prison. And he said, Go show these things unto Jacob and to the brethren. And he departed and went to another place. Now as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers about what was become of Kepha. And when Herod had sought for him and found him not, because this was his extra credit right here, he's going to get some promotion. He examined the keepers and commanded that they should be put to death. And he went down from Judea to Sisera, and there abode. And Herod was highly displeased with them of Tyre and Zidon. But they came with one accord to him, and having made Blastus the king's chamberlain their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. And upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne and made an oration unto them. And the people gave a shout, saying, It is the voice of a God and not of a man. And immediately the angel of Yahweh smote him, because he gave not Elohim the glory, and he was eaten of worms, and gave up the spirit.
All right, so this is what happens. You get emboldened again, you start doing sin, you start doing wickedness, you start killing people, then you start feeling that you are God. And he didn't necessarily say, I'm a God, but he allowed them to glorify him. And you see how dangerous that is when you allow man to call you a God or put you anywhere in any space on the same level plane as Yahweh. You putting your life in danger. And that goes right back to what we talked about last time, that silent consent. Well, you don't say nothing, you consenting. So somebody's call you, oh, you're the Mashiach. And you just don't say nothing. You don't co-signed it. You might as well go ahead and start, put them gasoline drawers on and get ready to jump in the lake of fire. Because you did not say nothing. And that's what we do. And I guarantee, I wasn't there, but I guarantee all these Mashiachs that just died, all of them that from the different Israelite camps that all died, it started that way. I really seriously doubt they started, hey, let me tell you, bro, I'm Jesus. I seriously doubt any of them did that. They started out doing good deeds, doing good things, trying to do a good work, and just got so big to the point where the people started worshiping them. And at first they probably was like, bro, hey. Then eventually they just got comfortable with it and started believing the hype.
Verse 24, But the word of Yahweh grew and multiplied. And Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem, and they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them Yohanan, whose surname was Mark.
Keep reading to chapter 13. I wanted to do something. It was interesting. I was watching some brothers. I think they were True Nation. One of my ox, Isaiah, sent me the video. He brought up a very interesting point in the video about how we feel about being called nigger or being called black. Hey, my nigga, we cool. We don't have a problem saying that. But somebody, as soon as a white person say you nigger, because you know how they pronounce the whole thing out. As soon as they say that, we ready to kill them. But then we put on our thing black. I'm black. Black American. Black History Day. Yeah, I'm black though. Don't call me no nigga. I'm black. All right. And they brought up a good point, and I'm going to go over it real quick. This is kind of a sidebar. Go ahead.
Chapter 13 and verse 1. Now, there were in the assembly that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Menon, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul.
All right, so they're calling Barnabas and Simeon that word. So go ahead and look that Strong's word up and show me how it's pronounced, how it's spelled out.
G3526.
So we know who Saul is. We know Saul's of the tribe of Benjamin. He's a Benjamite. So we know he's an Israelite. So we know what his skin tone would have been.
Verse G3526. Niger.
Right. So it ain't Niger. See, I know Niger is that country, and they tell us Niger, which is very interesting. I want to do a study on that. That place Niger, that area right there, is that where they also called it Judah land and all that type? Isn't that the same little area?
Nah, Niger is a little further into the central regions, I believe. But it is that same
that
coast,
same little
but
spot.
above. It's not a
Right.
coast. It's just it's landlocked.
Right.
But yeah, it is in that area.
But if I remember, I couldn't really see because they just showed the portion, but it looked like that Niger land or whatever, where the Judah was central, like
it would have been part of the Songhai Empire, which was like that whole
little central
area
region
of West Africa, with all them rulers and
Ghana kings and all that. Hey, that's crazy. So, what is the definition? So we saw how it's pronounced. It's pronounced nigger. You nigger. That's how it was pronounced. According to Greek, that's a Greek word. What is and this is Acts 13. This is in the King James Bible. What they called them. What is the definition? Read it again. The Strong's numbered everything.
G3526. Neger. Neeger. It's spelled here Niger, but the pronunciation is putting Neeger. Neger. Of Latin origin, black. Niger, a Christian.
Oh, so not only does the word mean black, it also is synonymous with Christians.
The first believers of Hamashiach.
So the first believers of Hamashiach were, I think they were in Macedonia, right? I believe they were in Macedonia. So those people were black. So the first so-called Christians were black. And the word black in Greek, the language that the New Testament was translated from in the King James, was nigger.
Well, the first believers of Hamashiach were Israelites. The
first Christians, the first followers.
Yeah, the first followers of Hamashiach were Israelites.
Right.
And then Macedonia is a Grecian area. It's a Grecian area, but the first believers were of Yeshua's nation and origin.
Right.
Simon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Menon, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul.
All right. So the point that the brother was making from True Nation, which is a very good point, we have no problem with people calling us black. Kendrick Lamar got a problem. He said, don't call me black no more. I'm an Israelite. So he had enough knowledge and wisdom to understand and say, bro, I don't want to be associated with that, because that's when they started making us property, when they tried to call us a color. And negro is just black in Spanish, and English would be negro. So they're all calling you the same thing. So if you have a problem with them calling you a nigger, then you should have a problem with them calling you black, because it means the same exact thing. It's ignorance. And furthermore, I've yet to meet somebody who is black, the color of this tripod or whatever. I've seen some pretty dark people, but I've yet to see that. They want to take you away from your nationality and making you a color. They don't call the different nations in the African nations, they don't call them black. They call him, he's Guyanese, he's, Guyanan, he's, Kenyan, he's, Zimbabwean, he's this, he's that. They call him by their nation. But where's black land? Where's the country of black? We don't consider that. So why we call black, and why say not the Negroes, not the Africans, but the Negroes. They separating. So everybody else got a nationality, but black. What about all the so-called melanated people that are from all around the world, in Australia and India and Mesopotamia and Syria and all those areas where you got black people, so-called black people with melanin in their skin? They don't call them black. They call them by their nationality. But then yet they have a nice little proverb and byword for them, though. In every language, they're going to have a word for them to call the melanated people. So that's something to think about. I just thought that's kind of one off, but I thought that was a very good point that the brothers brought up in addressing that, how we so quick to call ourselves black. And that was an interesting point to he was talking to some young college students to get them to think, well, who are you? Why don't you know who you are? Why are you the only people in the world with this condition? And why the Bible says that these children of Yasharal are going to be dealing with this and fighting with this for generations to come. So that's all we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and end in a prayer. Let us go ahead and keep in mind, again, we're getting closer to unleavened bread. If you, again, need help removing the leaven from your house, you can go to the website Israelites, plural, gathering.com and download the unleavened bread ingredients thing. There's a print page that goes over all the different leavening ingredients, the different products that have leaven in them, and gives you some tips on what you should do as far as keeping the leaven out of your house and removing the leaven from yourself.
What I'm gonna look at is if the Simon of Cana and this one is the same, but I realized Simeon and the Simon had the same Greek number. Mm-hmm. So it's something that we could.
Yeah. There was multiple Simeons.
Yeah.
Because even Kepha's name was Simeon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought about that because it said of the Canaanite, Simeon the Canaanite.
Yeah.
You know, I assumed he just stayed in that area.
But I think in Acts 15 it says something about Simeon and then him being an Israelite. So
that's what I'm saying.
We'll see.
But was he, a reconciled Israelite or was he a true Israelite? I'm gonna say he was a true Israelite, just by understanding.
It's worth the investigation.
But
like a lot of things.
Definitely. All right, let's go ahead and end in a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Brother Yonatan, can you go ahead and lead us out in prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, Yah, we thank you for the mercy that you bestowed upon us, Yahweh, allowing us to gather in your name and in the name of your Son, O Yah, seeking righteousness and being blessed with your presence, O Yah, and being blessed with your wisdom and your understanding, Yahweh. We're thankful, Yahweh, for even if it was just the crumbs that fall off your table, Yahweh, we will be appreciative and have gratitude and share, Yahweh, because we know that faith as small as a mustard seed can do great things and move mountains, O Yah. We thank you, Yahweh, for allowing us safe travels and safe journeys. We thank you, Yahweh, for the love of family. And we thank you, Yahweh, for the peace of heart, Yah. And if there may be any disturbances in our heart, Yahweh, help us to remove them. Help us to go nearer to the heart of peace, Yahweh, as your holy day approaches and as our time of appearance approaches, Yah. We thank you and we bless your name. We continue to walk in your way, Yahweh, as grace is bestowed unto us. In the name of Yahshua, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Stop the Facebook, please.